Hi guys, I am going to show you how to make these beautiful little bird cards using the amazing template in the lovely Simple Things magazine featuring yours truly. So this is the spread, and it contains a few projects where you will create beautiful bird related things. And I'm going to show you first of all how to make this card really easy to do and with really lovely results. So you're going to need some watercolours. My watercolours are really old. You might have really lovely new ones, but these are my favourite ones. You can get these on my website and hopefully some good art shops too. And I'm going to use one of my little postcards, which are also on the website because it's really lovely thick paper, really nice to send people. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to, and this feels really weird, this feels like slightly not something you would normally do, drawing on magazines, but you're literally going to draw over this bird that's in the magazine. So you're going to cover every part of the bird that you think would be quite difficult to draw. Now, you think, oh, it's just a bird, I can draw a bird, but actually drawing a bird freehand can sometimes just kind of not look how you want it to look. And I am a great believer in the end result being something you're really proud of, not just the process. So I know a lot of people say it doesn't matter what it looks like, it's the fact that you've enjoyed creating it. I just don't agree with that. You wouldn't sort of say it doesn't matter what it tastes like when you're cooking. And I think it's much more important that you absolutely love what you do and you're thrilled with the results. Okay, you're going to draw all over. In fact, the surface of the Simple Things magazine is lovely. It's not too shiny, so it's really easy to draw around. I'm drawing in the leaves, but obviously you don't have to. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to turn it over, which is, again, feels very strange, and you're going to scribble over the back of the magazine. So take your card. As I said, I'm going to use one of these little postcards because they're quite sweet to send. So check you've got the right way round, and then you're going to position your bird on the card. So just check you're happy with, you can just about see through actually, which is quite handy. So you can check that you've got it about right. Then take your pencil. Now, sorry, this lovely article on the other side. Make sure you've read it first. And then you're going to scribble over the back. So you're going to cover the whole bird. So you can keep kind of lifting it up. You can see that it's coming out nicely. And you're going to scribble, scribble, scribble all over, pressing quite firmly. Now, it's not as thick as normal paper, magazine paper, so I would avoid using the tip because that could tear the paper, which you wouldn't want. Now, once you've done this, bear in mind that it will last a few times. So with normal paper, I would say about 4 times, but maybe 2 or 3 for this magazine paper. So you could do a few of these using the same transfer. You don't have to draw over it again. If you rub over it again, it should work. So you can see the bird is very easy to see as a sort of guide on your postcard. So keep the magazine. I would keep it quite close because you've got it there to kind of look at the colours, etc. Now, this picture here is actually quite useful because it's this way round. little bit dyslexic, so I find it really hard to kind of translate something that's in mirror image, if that makes sense. So I would keep this image to hand, maybe more than this image, which could be a bit confusing. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there, and I've got my nice bird ready. And now you're going to need a little bit of water. And I'm using a size 1 and a size 6 brush, but I mean really I would just call them medium and small, but these are the ones I sell. I sell a little duo on my website just to make it nice and easy, but honestly, you know, obviously it's just a paintbrush, but these ones I really like because you get really lovely points on them. So now you've got to choose a colour. So looking at my watercolours, I think I'm going to go for a slightly more reddy colour. So I'm going to use a nice red here. And then I'm just going to paint a sort of wash really where I can see the little transfer that we've just made. And again, I'm referring to these images. So I'm looking at this little chap here, just as a guide really. Now it's obviously entirely up to you, but I like to be told what to do. I'm a real recipe follower. And this is a really relaxing task because you're being told what to do. I think there's something really stressful about uncertainty and have I chosen the right colour and is this going to look okay? But actually, especially if you're just starting out, so nice to have all those decisions made for you. And then when you get a bit braver, you can go off-piste and start to do your own thing. So what you want to do is make sure that the coverage is really nice and even. But don't worry too much. I can't stress this enough. This is not about perfection. This is really a base because the magic happens when you add the coloured pencils over the top, and then it looks like you're a whiz at painting, which you probably are, but I'm not. I need a little bit of cheating every now and then. Okay, so you're adding just a sort of base colour wash. Now I'm in a bit of a, I don't want to bore you, so I'm in more of a hurry. So I would advise waiting a bit because what you want to avoid is colours merging. So fingers crossed they don't merge when I go close to the red. But normally I'd wait a little bit till it was a bit drier. Lucky me, didn't merge. So you're kind of working in patchworks. I tend to work in one section and then leave the section next to it before moving on to the next, if that makes sense, just because then you're going to avoid that sort of colour running. Okay, so just do this bit here. And so remembering all the time that you are using a wash, and so you're going to be going over this in pencil for all the detail. If you want, you might just think, no, I'm ready. I'm going to do it all in lovely paints and not worry so much about waiting and just do it all now. But I prefer to wait. So you can see I've missed a bit of yellow there. See, I'm doing it in a hurry. So you'll wait, won't you? Not like me, impatient. Okay. And then thinking about the colours, anything goes because you're going to add your pencil. But I love all these, maybe I'm being influenced by the weather, but it's quite autumnal at the moment, so I've chosen quite autumnal colours. But if you look at the other examples, going for kind of really bright blues looks great as well. And these are lovely cards. It's so nice to give someone something that's homemade by you. Although I always find I always find that people think if you give them something homemade, it was made really fast and that you're just super clever. They go, oh, this probably took you 5 minutes, didn't it? And you think, no, it took me hours. But it is lovely to receive. And actually, a lot of people really love things with birds, and I've got quite a few friends who are slightly obsessed with birds. So I've definitely got a few friends I know who would absolutely love these. Okay, so I'm going to give this one a bit of a darker red tail. So they are slightly merging because I'm being naughty. I'm being very naughty and not waiting like I should. You should wait until they're dry, but I'm not. Okay, so nearly done on the bird. So I've done these slightly different colours, but it doesn't really matter if they're all the same colour. And then for the beak, I would say maybe just do the top section. You could just leave the bottom bit of the beak so that it's white, and you could just use your pencil to do the outline. And then just going to, because it's dry now, I'm going to give him a green eye. Now don't worry too much about the middle bit, because you can do that again in black afterwards. I've got my green, I might as well do these lovely leaves. So going back to these paintbrushes, the tip of making something really pointy is to have a point. I know it sounds really obvious, but if the paintbrush has got a lovely point on it, then you know you're going to be able to get a point. I think if it's loaded with paint and it hasn't got that really fine point, then it's going to be more of a struggle, and you won't be able to use the paintbrush shape to get the leaves, which is really useful. So what colour are this little chap's legs? I'm just going to go really hardly there, like I sort of call it like a hardly there colour. So I'm going to use a hardly there colour. Because you don't really want his legs, you want his beautiful, colourful body to be the focal point, and not funny bird spindly little tiny mini legs. Aren't they funny? Bird spindly legs. Okay, and then for the branch, just going to go in with a nice, again, these are the things you want to kind of just be in the background, really, don't you? And you can add all the details with your pencils, which I just love doing. Pencils are like magic. You can just pretend that all of that detail is done by paint, because it really does look like paint as well. It's quite clever. Can you hear the dog barking? Sorry about that. Quite useful, because I can never hear the door, so he just has a good old woof every time someone comes to deliver something. Okay, so now we've done all of the sort of paint wash. I think it really is time to just sort of leave it alone, which is really hard to do, especially if you're like me. I'm quite impatient. But we are just going to leave that to dry for a second, and then we're going to use coloured pencils. Now, these are the pencils I use, but the thing to look out for is the word polycolour. So these are the ones we sell, and I love them. But the polycolour in them means that they are really, really intense and quite sort of oily, if that makes sense. And it just means that they will work really well on this gorgeous watercolour surface. So whichever pencils you get, make sure they're polycolour, because otherwise you get those really hard ones and they're just kind of like a bit scratchy. I like the ones which have got a lot of pigment in them. So I'm going to wait and then I will use the pencils for detail. So, right, all dry, and I'm going to start with a red, and I'm just going to go over his little body, and I'm simply going to add some little lines. So it's not really shading I'm doing here. This is more kind of decorative. Make sure your pencil's really nice and sharp as well. And it has that sort of slightly painty feel. Do you see what I mean about these pencils though? They've got such a nice kind of deep quality. Okay. So it just gives it a bit of definition. They're a bit snappy because they're so sharp, but that's okay. You can use the edge and then sort of resharpen them. Okay, so I've just sharpened my pencil because it was all a bit breaky. It does that, it's fine. Okay, so you're just defining really these areas and adding a nice sort of element of detail and feathers. Now you can go over it again with a bit of paint afterwards if you wanted to define some of these areas. So I'm just going to use red on these bits. But I do like adding these little dots because it looks a bit like it's one of those sort of old vintage prints of birds where, excuse me, where they'd had that sort of, instead of having a sort of shading, it was easier to use this sort of little lines in the sort of printing method. And it's easier as well, shading's difficult. So, there we go. He's starting to take shape. Now I use an electric pencil sharpener. You're going to hear it now. Sounds a bit like a roar every time I use it, because I just like keeping them sharp all the time, and it's handy. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of purple here, because you're really sort of looking at the colour and then thinking which is the dark version I could use. So purple for this one, and then a really nice dark brown. Oops, sorry, dark brown for this one. Whilst I've got my brown, I'm just going to add a few little lines on the wood. Nothing too much, just to sort of give it some definition. But using that line method and a bit of an outline does give it a slightly more 3D feel. And the same with the legs. I'm going to have a grey, just to kind of give them a little bit of, you don't want to give them too much attention, his little funny legs, but just so they're there. Now here's where you could then add the bottom section of the eye. And then a darker green, again, hardly anything really, just gives it a really nice three-dimensional feel. And also maybe around the eye. And then using a black pencil, you can add in his pupil, his main, oh, that's sweet, look at his little face. And again, maybe a bit more around the wood if you wanted to, just a bit more definition. So I'm just going to use a white gel pen, which I am slightly obsessed by, but you could use white pencil, dark pencil. But I just think, why not? They're so easy to use and they just add a little bit of magic to things. Yeah, I use them rather a lot. So I'm going to add a few little white dots here as well. Not to overdo it, and maybe just a few little lines on here. And then I mentioned about going back to the paint. Now, I realise I haven't used my size 6 brush, but if you want to, because I'm quite used to paint and covering large areas, but if you wanted to, when you were doing these slightly larger areas, you could outline with a small brush and then give it a bit of a swirl around with a larger brush to give it that kind of more of a blanket feel. So paint on paint is really effective too. I love the use because it looks like it's slightly more professional when you've let it dry, and then you can just add a little bit more paint. So with this element, you could then just add a few more touches using a sort of another layer sort of interest. So there, we've got a bird, and that's a really lovely gift to someone to send as a card or a thank you, and really easy to do. So lots of other options. I've got a few examples here. This little chap's quite nice with his yellow head. So again, those are slightly autumnal colours. There's another red one. And the blues are really nice with orange leaves. And then finally, mixing those kind of warm and cool colours together. But you can see that I've used a bit of paint on top here, lots of little lines. And again, this is white paint, not white gel pen here. And this has got no white on it at all. It's just a kind of lovely mix of pinks and reds as well. And as I said, the white pencil works just as well. So this is white pencil. So I hope you enjoy your special bird card module. And I look forward to seeing them all. Have a lovely time making them. Bye.